The moment you stop chasing them is the moment they finally start noticing you. You know what's truly strange? The instant you stop chasing someone, that's the exact second they begin to notice your absence. It's almost unbelievable, right? You spend days, months, maybe even years trying to explain yourself, fighting to be understood, begging for a little clarity, hoping they'll finally see your heart. And then one random day, something shifts. You don't send that extra message. You don't stare at your screen wondering if you said too much. You don't check to see if they watched your story or read your text. You just stop. You go quiet. And suddenly, that silence of yours becomes the loudest sound they've ever heard. Because here's the real truth. Silence isn't avoidance. It's power. It's the voice of someone who has finally decided to choose themselves after being ignored, dismissed, and unseen. For people who run from emotions, that silence is terrifying. It shakes them. They don't expect you to vanish. They expect you to keep reaching out, to keep proving you care, to keep showing up even when they don't. That's what they're comfortable with. That's what lets them feel safe. But when you stop, when you truly stop, they're forced to face something they've spent their whole life avoiding: the feeling of loss. An avoidant can escape your words, but they can never escape your silence. Because silence doesn't just echo, it reveals. It forces them to face the guilt, the fear, and the truth that they pushed away something real. It's in that stillness, in that space where you're no longer chasing, that they start replaying every moment they took for granted, every message they ignored, every time you showed up when they didn't. And that's when it hits them like a wave. You were their safe place. You were the calm inside their chaos. And now, that calm is gone. But here's what most people don't understand. Silence isn't revenge. It's closure. It's peace. It's the quiet truth that says, I'm not waiting for you to understand what you lost. Because when you choose silence, you're no longer waiting for validation or an explanation that will never come. You're saying, I don't need your words to heal. I have my own. That's the shift. That's the moment everything changes. Because silence doesn't just make them miss you, it makes them see you clearly. Maybe for the first time, it makes them realize that you weren't the problem. You were the piece they weren't ready for. And that realization, that's the breaking point for their avoidance and the beginning of freedom for you. So if you've ever wondered why your silence suddenly makes them chase you, why it cracks through their emotional walls like lightning, stay with me. Because the moment you stop talking, stop chasing, and stop proving, something powerful begins. Your silence becomes the mirror that shows them everything they tried to hide. It becomes the thing they can't unfeel, the echo they can't turn off. You see, most people misunderstand silence. They think it's empty, cold, distant, a sign that someone stopped caring. But real silence is one of the strongest choices you can make. It's not passive, it's not weakness, it's a statement. It's you saying, I'm done participating in my own pain. When you're dealing with someone who constantly withdraws, who gives you just enough to keep you hoping but never enough to make you feel safe, your natural instinct is to try harder. You begin to explain more. You love louder. You do everything you can to prove you're worth choosing. But each extra effort, each text, each apology you never owed, chips away at your peace. Bit by bit, you start losing your sense of worth. You begin to feel like you're begging for something that should have been given freely. Effort, respect, care, and that's when your power slips away. Because the more you chase, the louder one message becomes, my peace depends on you. But that's a lie. It doesn't. It never did. The truth is, the moment you stop chasing, you reclaim your peace. That silence, that still, brave moment where you stop reacting and start breathing again, that's you returning home to yourself. It's not about punishing them. It's about protecting your spirit. It's about remembering who you were before the pain convinced you to shrink. And something incredible happens in that stillness. The energy changes. When you stop trying to prove your worth, the whole dynamic shifts. At first, it feels unbearable. You'll want to break the silence. You'll want to reach out just to feel some connection again. But if you can sit through that discomfort, if you can stay still long enough, you'll feel something stronger than the pain. Peace. That peace starts growing quietly inside you, and that's what they start to feel missing. Because silence doesn't go unnoticed. It's the weight of all the words you didn't say. It's the space where they have to finally sit with themselves. They start wondering what happened, what changed, why your energy suddenly disappeared. They start to realize it wasn't your words that held them. It was your presence, the warmth, the consistency, the care. And once that's gone, nothing feels the same. Avoidants don't handle that kind of emptiness well. They're used to distance, but not your distance. They're used to control, but not when they lose control of you. Your silence becomes the one thing they can't predict, can't manipulate, can't soothe with half effort. It's the moment their emotional walls start to crack. They begin to remember how steady your energy felt, how comforting your attention was. They replay every little thing you did that made them feel seen, even when they pretended not to care. And that's when the regret begins. They realize your love wasn't a weakness, it was strength. The kind of love that stays when things get difficult. The kind that doesn't demand perfection but asks for honesty. They start to see that you weren't too emotional. You were simply real. And now, all they're left with is the echo of what they once had. Your silence becomes their mirror. It reflects everything they refuse to face, their fear of closeness, their need for control, their habit of pushing away what's good for them. And suddenly they feel the emptiness they once thought they wanted. Because now that it's truly quiet, they can hear the truth. That you were never chasing them out of need, but out of love. That you didn't want to control them, you just wanted connection. And in trying to protect themselves from pain, they destroyed the one person who offered peace. But by then, your silence has already transformed you. You start to feel lighter. You stop waiting for closure because you realize you've already given it to yourself. You begin to see how much of your worth was tied to their validation and how powerful it feels to no longer need it. You start waking up without that heaviness in your chest. You laugh again, you breathe again, and for the first time in a long while, you're not waiting for anyone to return. And ironically, that's when they do. When your silence becomes confidence, when your energy no longer reaches for them, that's when they feel the loss fully. They may come back, not because they've changed, but because your absence is too loud to ignore. But here's where your power lies. You don't owe them your words anymore. You don't owe them access to your peace. Your silence taught them what your voice never could, that love doesn't beg to be seen. So, if you're in that quiet phase now, if you've stopped chasing, stopped explaining, and started choosing peace, stay there. Don't doubt it. Silence isn't the end of your story. It's the start of your healing. Because the moment you stop fighting to be heard by someone who refuses to listen, you finally start hearing yourself. And that sound, your own voice, calm, grounded, and free, is worth more than anything you were chasing before. The quiet feels heavier than you expect. You've always been the one filling every gap, softening every edge, fixing what falls apart. But if you can hold that silence just a little longer, if you can stop yourself from rushing to fill it, something incredible starts to happen. That silence begins to speak for you. It carries every word you once struggled to say. It whispers, "I'm done trying. It says, "I deserve calm." It quietly declares, "I am no longer available for confusion or chaos." And for someone who's avoidant, that silence feels different. Because avoidance runs on control. They pull away when closeness feels too real. They create distance to feel safe. But when you go quiet, truly quiet, they lose the control they once believed they had. Suddenly, they can't predict you. They can't read your next move. The emotional safety net they've always counted on, your effort, your consistency, your steady presence, is gone. And here's the strange twist. The silence they once craved becomes the very thing they can't bear, because silence creates space, and space leads to reflection, and in that stillness, they start noticing something they never did before. You were the constant one. You were the grounding force. You were the calm inside all the storms they created. And when that calm disappears, they finally come face to face with what they've been running from their entire lives: emptiness. But this is the key part. Your silence is not about trying to get a reaction. It's not about making them miss you or come crawling back. It's about breaking the cycle that's been draining your soul for too long. It's about choosing to stay grounded instead of chasing, peaceful instead of desperate. You're not waiting for them to notice that you're gone. You're learning how to notice yourself again. Silence becomes your teacher. It shows you where your boundaries live. It shows you that you don't need to explain your worth to make someone value it. You don't have to prove anything to be chosen. And once that truth settles deep inside you, you begin to shine with a quiet strength that no words can capture. That's when the balance shifts. Suddenly, they feel everything you once felt, the confusion, the wondering, the ache. But now it's not yours to carry anymore. And this is the beautiful part. Silence clears your mind. When you stop talking, you finally start hearing your own thoughts again. You start to remember what peace actually feels like. You see that the relationship you fought so hard to keep wasn't really held together by love. It was held together by fear. Fear of losing something that wasn't holding you with the same strength. And in that moment of clarity, you find freedom. There's power in that stillness. Power in walking away quietly, not because you've stopped caring, but because you've started honoring yourself more. You'll notice your energy shift. You won't be chasing validation anymore. You'll start craving calm. You won't be obsessed with what they're thinking or feeling. You'll be focused on how you're healing. That's growth, that's self-awareness, that's emotional maturity. And that's what makes silence so powerful. It transforms you without forcing you to fight. Your silence isn't revenge. It's not a tactic. It's self-respect. It's a boundary that breathes peace. It's the sound of you closing a door softly, without anger, without noise. And when that silence starts to echo back at them, when they finally realize what they've lost, it's not because you won or proved a point. It's because you stepped out of the game completely. That's what breaks their defense. Not shouting, not endless explanations, not pain-filled goodbyes, just peace, stillness, distance. Because nothing shakes avoidance like someone who no longer needs to be understood to walk away. That's when they feel it, the weight of what they let go. That's when they start to miss you. And that's when your silence becomes the loudest closure you'll ever give. The quiet that once scared you now becomes your power. It's the calm after the storm you didn't think you'd survive. You begin to realize that peace doesn't come from being chosen. It comes from choosing yourself. You no longer need to beg to be seen or understood. You've learned that silence can be strength, not weakness. And while they sit in confusion, replaying what went wrong, you're already finding your rhythm again. You're not bitter. You're just done. Done trying to prove your worth to someone who never saw it. Done fighting for a bond that only you were building. Done explaining your feelings to someone who ran from their own. Your quiet is not cold, it's sacred. It's your soul saying, enough. It's you realizing that not every connection deserves your voice. Some only deserve your absence, and that's okay, because absence has a power of its own. It makes truth surface. You see, silence doesn't destroy connections. It reveals which ones were real. If your peace makes someone uncomfortable, it's because their comfort depended on your chaos. When you stop reacting, they lose control of the narrative. And that's when the real story begins, the one where you no longer chase people to stay. The avoidant will start to feel it piece by piece. The emptiness when you don't reply, the stillness when you don't reach out, the mirror of silence showing them what they truly lost. And even if they never admit it, deep down, they'll know. It wasn't just your words they miss, it's your energy, your warmth, your presence that made them feel safe while they kept pretending they didn't need it. And by the time they realize it, you'll already have changed. You'll have outgrown the need for closure. You'll understand that some endings don't need to be explained, they just need to be accepted. Your silence will no longer be about them. It will be about you choosing to protect your peace. You'll start noticing how much stronger you feel when you no longer argue for your value. How much lighter your days feel when you no longer chase understanding from people who can't even face themselves. Avoidants survive on distance. It's their shield. Keeping people at arm's length makes them feel protected. Getting close feels risky. Vulnerability feels like standing without armor in a world they can't predict or trust. So early in life, they learn that if they can manage the level of closeness, they can manage how much pain they allow in. They might look calm, in control, or emotionally detached, but deep inside, they're scared. Scared of needing someone, scared of being seen, scared of losing their sense of control. But here's the truth. They can only stay in control as long as you play your role. As long as you chase, explain, and keep reaching for connection, they stay comfortable. They get to decide when to come close and when to disappear. That's the loop. That's the pattern. It's predictable. And for them, predictable means safe. They never have to face their fear as long as you do all the emotional work. But the moment you stop, the moment you pull your energy back, that predictability vanishes. Suddenly, they can't read you anymore. They can't sense where you stand, what you feel, or what you might do next. And that loss of control doesn't just confuse them, it shakes them deeply. Because now your silence becomes a mirror, and in that mirror, they see everything they've been running from. It's not your words that break through their defenses, it's your absence. Because silence creates space, and in that space, truth rises to the surface. When you're not there to fill the emptiness with comfort or understanding, they begin to hear the echoes of their own actions. They start to feel the weight of their choices, the cost of the moments when they believed you'd always stay. They start to wonder what changed, what they did wrong, what they've lost. That's when the real fear appears. Not fear of you, but fear of what your absence means. It's not about missing the texts or the calls. It's about missing the emotional safety you once gave them. You were the one who listened when nobody else did. You were steady when they became distant. And now, for the first time, they have to live without that emotional safety net. They don't know how to handle that emptiness, so they start to observe. They watch quietly from the sidelines. Maybe they check your posts. Maybe they start viewing your stories again. Maybe they send a random message just to see how you'll react. But deep down, they know things aren't the same. They can feel it in your energy. Something inside you has changed. You're no longer reacting out of fear or need. You're grounded, you're calm. And that peace, it draws them in ways they can't even explain. This is where the real power of your silence shows. It exposes their fear while revealing your strength. It shows them you don't need to chase or beg for closeness, that your life doesn't revolve around their emotional push and pull. And for someone who's used to being in control, that truth is unsettling. They may never admit it, but your calmness unnerves them. Because now they see that love doesn't vanish when things go quiet. it transforms. While they're struggling to understand what's happening, you're healing. You're realizing how much of yourself you gave away just trying to be understood by someone who wasn't ready to understand you. You're finally seeing that you were never too much. They were simply too closed off to receive the love you offered. And as you stay in that silence, something even more beautiful unfolds. You start detaching, not from love, but from the need to fix. You stop trying to prove your worth. You stop seeking their validation. You start living again, breathing again, feeling free again. For the avoidant, that's the moment when their world starts to unravel. The person they thought would always be there no longer feels emotionally available. They sense it in your words, your tone, your energy, your calm distance. You're not angry anymore. You're free, and that freedom is the one thing they can't control, can't manipulate, can't predict. So they start to panic. They start to reflect. They remember your kindness, your patience, your forgiveness. They realize they didn't just lose a person, they lost a sense of emotional safety they didn't even know they depended on. And here's the bitter irony. The very distance they fought to keep now feels unbearable, because the silence isn't theirs anymore, it's yours. And your silence carries a truth they can't escape. They see now that you don't need them anymore, and that truth cuts deep. It shakes everything they believed about control and power. They start to understand that love isn't something they can push away and expect to find waiting whenever they return. They begin to feel the full weight of their avoidance, not just as regret, but as real loss. And when that realization sinks in, they start craving the connection they once feared. That's the quiet power of silence. It doesn't yell, it doesn't demand, it simply reflects. It holds up the mirror and lets truth reveal itself. And when the avoidant finally looks into that mirror, what they see is the person they pushed away, standing stronger, calmer, and more grounded than ever before. That's when it hits them. Your silence was never rejection. It was revelation. When you pull back from someone who's avoidant, the entire balance shifts. They've spent so long managing how close you can get, always keeping just enough space to feel safe. They control the rhythm. And as long as you're the one reaching out, explaining, fixing, they hold that control. But the moment you stop, the moment you go quiet, the atmosphere changes completely. Avoidants live inside a constant push and pull cycle. They crave closeness, but fear it the moment it becomes real. They convince themselves that distance is safer. It's not pride, it's fear. Fear of depending on someone, fear of being truly seen, fear of needing someone else. So they build emotional walls, not because they don't care, but because caring feels like a risk they're not sure they can take. Your silence breaks that cycle. When you step back, you remove the rhythm they've relied on. They can't read you anymore. They can't predict your next move, and that uncertainty cracks the illusion of control they've been hiding behind for so long. For the first time, they're left to face what their distance really costs. And in that quiet, something begins to echo back at them. The truth they've tried to escape. Silence becomes the mirror that finally shows them who they are, what they've lost, and what they never appreciated until it was gone. It mirrors their behavior right back at them. Every unanswered text, every distant goodbye, every moment they withdrew now echoes inside the quiet space you've created. They can't escape it anymore because there's nothing left to distract them. No argument to justify their actions, no chaos to hide behind, no reassurance from you to calm their discomfort, just silence. And silence makes them feel. It's strange, isn't it? The same quiet that brings you peace feels suffocating to them. While you're learning how to breathe again, they're realizing they can't, because what they're really missing isn't your words. It's the sense of safety your presence gave them. You were the one who kept showing up, softening the edges, making connection feel possible. When that disappears, they start to feel the emptiness they thought distance would protect them from. You can see it in small, subtle ways. They start checking in indirectly, leaving little clues, small tests to see if you'll respond. They might comment on something random or send a short message that doesn't mean much. It's not really about the words. It's about reassurance. They want to know if you're still there, still available, still waiting. But your energy has changed. You're not angry anymore. You're calm now, grounded in a healthy way. And that calmness confuses them because avoidant people expect emotional chaos. They're used to drama, but when you meet their silence with stillness instead of reaction, it shows a kind of strength they didn't expect. You're not chasing anymore. You're simply standing still. That steadiness exposes everything they've been running from inside themselves. You might not even realize how powerful that shift is. Your silence teaches lessons no words ever could. It says, I'm not chasing you anymore because I've found peace within myself. It says, I'm not angry, I'm just done negotiating for my worth. And that truth cuts deeper than any long speech or confrontation ever could. While they're over there wondering what changed, you're rediscovering yourself. You begin to see how much energy you use trying to manage their emotions, decoding mixed signals, and holding the connection together on your own. And when you finally stop doing that, you don't just get silence, you get clarity. You now have the space to feel your own emotions instead of theirs. You start realizing you were never too much. They were simply too scared. And that clarity brings your power back to you. You don't fear the silence anymore. You feel comfortable in it. You can sit with uncertainty without losing your balance. That kind of emotional independence, that quiet strength, it's magnetic. It's what draws them back because they can feel that you've stepped out of their emotional orbit. They start missing the version of you that made them feel safe. But the irony is, the person they're drawn to now isn't the same one who used to chase them. You've evolved. You've learned to live in your own stillness. You've stopped reacting, stopped over-explaining, stopped trying to fix what wasn't yours to fix. And that's what makes your silence so powerful. It's not manipulation, it's truth. When they finally look at you, really look at you, they don't see anger or neediness. They see peace. They see someone who no longer needs validation from them to feel worthy. Someone who doesn't need to be chosen to know they are enough. And for a person who built their identity on control, that's one of the most confronting things they can face. That's when their walls begin to crack, not because you pushed, but because you stopped. Your silence created space, and in that space, they finally saw what they'd been running from all along. Not you, but themselves. And that's the turning point. That's the quiet beauty of growth. It doesn't make noise. It happens slowly, almost invisibly, until one day you realize you've changed. You're not reacting anymore. You're not checking your phone every few minutes. You're not waiting for them to finally see your worth. Somewhere in that silence, you remembered who you were before you lost yourself trying to love someone who couldn't love you back the same way. You started feeling grounded again. You started feeling free. And that's exactly when it happens. When they come back, not always with big gestures or emotional confessions. Sometimes it's subtle, a casual text, a sudden curiosity about your life. Sometimes it's just their energy showing up again, testing if the door is still open. But here's what's different now. You're not that same person anymore. You don't lose your balance when they reach out. You don't rush to fix things. You don't feel that rush of anxiety that used to flood you the moment they reappeared. Now you feel calm. You see their message, and your first thought isn't excitement, it's clarity. You see it for what it is, a reflection of the power you've taken back. Silence changes everything. It forces them to realize something they never saw before. While they were busy guarding themselves from closeness, you were growing stronger without them. While they were running from emotion, you were running toward healing. And now that you stand firm in your strength, they can sense it. The energy that once chased them now radiates peace, and that's what pulls them in. Not your words, not your absence, but your transformation. It's almost ironic, isn't it? The very person who once made you question your worth now sees it more clearly than ever. That's what silence does. It forces truth into the open. It strips away the noise and shows what's real. They come back because the silence exposed what they weren't ready to face. You mattered. You always did. They just couldn't handle that truth until you stopped proving it. Maybe they'll beg. Maybe they'll promise to change, to finally become the person you needed them to be. But deep down, you'll know this moment isn't about them. It's about you. It's about the strength it took to stand here, the boundaries you built, the peace you protected. It's about realizing that the comeback you once wished for no longer moves you because you've already given yourself everything they never could: emotional safety, self-respect, and peace. That's the full circle. The closure you thought would come from their apology or regret was actually something you were meant to create within yourself. The universe doesn't always return what you lost. It gives you something greater, wisdom. And that wisdom whispers softly through the quiet, reminding you, you made it, you healed. So when they finally show up again, when the avoidant who once ran finally realizes what they destroyed and tries to come back, you'll understand something words can't describe. You were never waiting for them to return. You were waiting for yourself to come home, and you did.